Hey everyone, this is Seth with Food Challenge News. Welcome back to another podcast interview. Today I'm joined by Geoff Esper, who's the number 3 ranked competitive eater in the world by Major League Eating. How you doing today, Geoff?
I'm doing good. It's a little snowy lately, but other than that, it's been pretty good.
Yeah, we've had some snow where I'm at recently too, and we're 2 months into the new year, and I just wanted to ask what's been going on with you recently.
Yeah, I don't nothing new. Mostly just a lot of work, and this time of year it gets school. This is like the middle of the year, so this is where it gets really busy.
Yeah, and you're also a high school teacher, right?
Yeah.
What do you teach?
I teach electronics. It's a vocational high school.
How long you been doing that for?
Oh, I think this is my 24th year.
Oh wow, so you've been at it a long time. What's one of your favorite parts about it?
Well, I'm not really liking a classroom. Like I done that for a number of years where I was a classroom teacher, but now I'm what's called the shop teacher. So I'm out in the shop and the kids are just doing projects all day. And it's a little different than like a regular teacher role. So I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So moving over to the competitive eating side, you've already participated in a few eating contests already this year, with the most recent being the Siegel's Bagel Mania World Bagel Eating Championship in Las Vegas. So tell me, what was the atmosphere like just in Las Vegas and also for the contest?
Yeah, it's a contest in Vegas, but actually it's not really like a big contest because the Seagulls, it's just the restaurant there. They have it kind of out in their, I guess it's like a parking lot area, and that's where the contest is. So it's not like a huge number of people there, but they do put on a good contest. They're very enthusiastic, and they got a nice little restaurant there, and it's a fun contest.
I've always heard the food in Las Vegas is really good as well. I've never been to Vegas. I'd like to go someday. Was it your first time in Las Vegas?
No, I've been a number of times, but you know what? I never get to eat anything because I'm always doing a contest when I'm there. So, I get to eat the contest food. That's about it.
And I have to ask about the cream cheese during the contest. Was it optional?
No, there's actually quite a bit of cream cheese. The bagels that they use, I don't know if you check out the results of the contest, but the numbers kind of seem low. Like it's not like the huge crazy numbers you're used to seeing. That's because their bagels are like the, I guess they're like Jewish deli style bagels where they're very, very chewy and, they're hard to eat. And they do put a lot of cream cheese. I think there's 2 ounces of cream cheese were on each one.
Oh, so the cream cheese is already on the bagels before you consume them. You don't have to do it yourself.
Yeah. It's quite a bit. It's not like a small amount.
So did the cream cheese make it easier to polish off the bagels or a bit harder?
No, it doesn't really help at all. That's a dunking contest, so we do get to dunk the bagels, but again, they don't really absorb the liquid all that well, and they don't really get soggy, not like a hot dog bun does. So it's a tough contest.
And was there a lot of audience there?
No, like I said, there's not like a huge audience there. I don't even know if there was maybe 100 people. Yeah, it's not huge because it's like off the strip and it's not really well advertised, and they really need to like coordinate it with like a bigger event is what they need to do. But I'm glad they have it.
And so going back to your beginnings in competitive eating, what originally drew you to dive into the world of competitive eating, and what keeps you motivated to come back for more?
I always wanted to do it, like ever since I used to watch the Nathans on TV. I guess I wasn't a kid, but I used to watch, Kobayashi and, even Bob Shout. I used to remember seeing him. And there's a couple of the other old time Badlands. I used to see Badlands up there. He's been in there a long time. I used to watch them on TV, and I always thought it was kind of cool, something I might want to do someday. And then later on, I waited a long time. I really got into it too late. I started doing like food challenges at restaurants and stuff like that. And that led to doing like local contests. And then I said, well, maybe I'll just try to qualify for Nathan's. And I qualified in my first year. So it just kind of snowballs. Once you get into Nathan's, it kind of just snowballs.
What was your reaction when you qualified? Were you pretty pumped about it?
Well, I didn't qualify my very first time. I went to Citi Field, and Eater X was there. But I gave him a pretty good scare because Crazy Lake Conti was in the crowd, and he was watching me, and he had to keep running over to Eater X, telling me, you got to go a little faster. There's a guy over here who's going to catch you. But he ended up edging me by a couple, I think. So I ended up going up. Phantom Gourmet had a contest up in New Hampshire, and I went up there, and that's where I qualified.
An eating contest can get intense with all the competition, the energy, the crowd's reaction, everyone's yelling, screaming. How do you stay focused when there's so much going on around you?
It doesn't bother me what's going on around me. I see the crowd. I can hear them, but it doesn't bother me. I'm pretty focused. A lot of the time, I'm eating with my eyes closed, just concentrate on what I'm doing. I just don't get distracted by that stuff very easily. I mean, I see it and it's neat, especially when you're at, really big contests and there's a huge crowd, but I don't find it distracting.
What's the largest audience you've ever eaten in front of?
That probably has to be the Nathans. I mean, I don't know, there's tens of thousands of people there. I don't know if there's 20, 30. It's tough to say, but there's people as far as you can see, and then there's people on top of the buildings, and it's just like a sea of people that you're looking at.
Also, some people are on buildings.
Oh, there's people on building. I mean, everywhere that you can get a spot, there's people as far as you can see. Yeah.
Very interesting. And I know that there's also a lot of hot dog hats too, right? That people wear in the crowd.
Yeah, they have signs. Their favorite eaters. You see all kinds of signs, and they have those blown up hot dog things. They bang them together to make a loud noise, and yeah, it's just like regular carnival.
So have you ever been up on stage eating and you looked out into the crowd and you saw your name on a sign, like someone was rooting for you?
I've seen my name on a sign, I don't think while I was eating, but before I was eating, I definitely saw it. And at the tamales contest every year, there's a girl there, and she brings signs for everybody. She has like a sign for all the eaters, and she gives them at the end of the contest. She gives them to us and stuff. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is really neat. And also, each contest has its own time limit. Some are 8 minutes, some are 10 minutes. Does it seem to fly by for you when you're on stage eating, or does it seem longer?
Oh, it depends on the contest. Sometimes it does go by quick, and other contests they're like minute 4, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it's only 4 minutes. It really depends on the contest and how you're feeling that day. If you're noticing the time, you're probably not having your best performance. Because usually you want as much time as possible. Especially if you're eating good and eating quick. Yeah, it depends on the contest really, and how you're feeling. I think it really depends a lot on how you're feeling.
What's the longest contest you've ever been a part of, like time wise?
So last year I got to compete in Japan, and there was 3 rounds. I didn't have to compete in the first round. The first round was half an hour. The second round was 45 minutes, and the third round was 1 hour.
So that was the longest you've ever done?
Oh, yeah, an hour is like an insane amount of time to – I mean, you're not eating it's not like an American contest where you're eating at like contest speed, but you're eating at a steady pace the entire hour. It's brutal.
How much did that one challenge you as compared to what you're used to with eating contests?
I mean, it's different because it's not it's more like a marathon than a sprint. So it challenges in different ways. I think it's more mental than the fast contest, because you really don't have time to think in the American style contest for 8-10 minutes like that. You're not uncomfortable long enough yet until you start thinking about it. But when it gets to be half an hour, 45 minutes, or an hour, I mean, you're uncomfortable for a long time.
And what was the contest food for the one in Japan?
So my first round was pizza, and the final round is always ramen noodles. Steaming, boiling hot ramen noodles.
Yeah, how tough was that? Is it hard, like if the broth is really hot, because you're also on a time limit too, whether it's short or long?
Yeah, I mean, it was probably in the 40s temperature-wise, and I was in the shorts and a t-shirt, and I was sweating because I was eating hot ramen. And I almost got a little bit lightheaded because you're constantly blowing on the noodles to cool them down, because it's really, really hot when it comes out, and you have to try to go fast. So yeah, those 2 things were rough. When you get 10, 15 pounds or more of warm food inside your stomach, it really heats your body up.
And how was your flight over to Japan, and then also going into the eating contest? Was it like the same day? Was it the next day?
It was the next day, and the international flights compared to domestic flights, oh man, they're so enjoyable. I didn't mind it at all. It was long. I think it was like over 15 hours, but um, the seats are really comfortable, and there's plenty of room, and I didn't mind the flight at all.
That's good, yeah, because like when I go on vacation, I'm usually jet lagged by the time I get there, and then it's kind of hard to like get into the groove of things, you know. So I always wonder how that'd be if you go on a long flight and then you have to do an eating contest like the next day. If you know you're still tired, you know, still recovering.
Yeah, I don't seem to get affected too much by jet lag. It's not doesn't really affect me all that much. I can adjust pretty quick.
So moving on to the more challenge side of things, you've become known for creating your own eating challenges at home in addition to doing restaurant challenges. Some examples of your at-home challenges include eating 19 and a half pounds of mac and cheese in one sitting, a 16-pound meatball mega sub, and even 20 pounds of mashed potatoes and gravy. So when you're hitting that dreaded food wall, how do you push on and get the job done?
I mean, I know I can do it, so it's not like um, it's easier to do something know that you can do than it is to you don't know if you can do it. So I already know before going into the challenge that I'm more than likely going to be able to do the challenge. It's just going to be a little rough. So that's not really a problem for me. Sometimes it gets a little bit of just you're eating at home by yourself. It's always better to do something in front of a crowd because you don't want to fail in front of a crowd. So that gets a little bit tough, but yeah, I don't try to pick the challenges. I mean, I have lost a few, but I usually know if I can do them or not.
And I have to ask about the 500 pizza rolls challenge. You took them down in just over 58 minutes. What was that experience like, and was it a grease overload for you?
Man, that was a long time. I don't know how many years. That was like one of my very first challenges, I think, that I did at home. Yeah, I remember I had to go to like three different supermarkets to get because they didn't have enough to buy. um, I don't think grease was really a problem towards the end. That I think if I remember right, they got cold, so they got hard to eat. Like they were really chewy. Remember just counting them all too. I think that was that was a pain in the butt.
How large were the boxes? Like, how many came in a box?
Well, I think they came in big bags. I can't remember how many came in. I think like 120 came per bag, and then they only had a few of those, so I had to like get smaller bags. But then I had to go to like another supermarket to get enough. I remember I think I had to go to two supermarkets to get enough, and I wanted to make sure I had 500, so I had to end up buying like I don't know, like 530 or something like that, so I had enough.
And everyone likes to cook them different ways. Some like a microwave, some like to oven bake them or air fry them. I personally like them oven baked. So how did you cook them?
So yeah, that you really don't have a choice if you got to cook that many. If you want to oven bake them and put them in a flat pan and one per layer, it just take forever. So I just put them in a big aluminum pan and just baked them for I don't know 2 hours. I put aluminum foil over the top and I just baked them till they were all nice and warm. When you put that much in the oven, it takes a long time for the whole thing to get hot.
So how long did you film the video for?
The video is just what you see there. I don't know. Was there a timer in the video? I don't. I edit the video, but I don't cut it at all. So there's only fast forwards. That's it. The whole video was probably 57 minutes or something long when I had the intro and stuff before I started the clock.
You now have over 64,000 subscribers on YouTube and well over 400 videos on your channel. How do you keep your content fresh, including like new challenge ideas? How do you come up with them?
It's really tough. I get a lot of ideas from people emailing me ideas. I get a lot, but it's tough. Sometimes I'll go to Walmart and I'll walk up and down the freezer aisle or the regular aisle and just try to think of different things, or I'll try to ask people. Or we have a culinary department at school. I'll ask them sometimes. They've made me a bunch of different challenges. But yeah, it's getting tough because man, I've done so many videos now. It's really difficult, like to go to this freezer section and find something I haven't done yet. I wish I could do more restaurant challenges. Is what I really wish. It's just I don't have a chance to do a lot of that type of traveling, so it's tough.
How often do you do them?
Man, I like there's some people that do restaurant challenges, and in their first year of doing restaurant challenges, that they've done more than I don't even know if I've done mm, 40 to 50 restaurant challenges like my whole career. There's guys that done like four or 500, or even more, 1,000. I think Randy Santel's over 1,000. So I don't get to do too often, like maybe just a couple a year.
Yeah, and I just watched it last night actually with a friend of mine. We watched Max versus Food, and then also yourself took on a giant breakfast bowl challenge. So could you describe that experience for me?
Yeah, so that restaurant, I've done that challenge before at that it's a diner, really good diner. So they actually did me a favor by allowing me to come in and let me do it again with Max there. But yeah, they made. So what happened? There was a TV show called Chronicle that got a hold of me, and they wanted to get some information on how to do restaurant challenges and stuff like that. It was two ladies. They were going around doing a restaurant challenge. They didn't have a chance to finish any of them, so they were just having fun. And they were wondering where they could find some more restaurant challenges because there's not a whole lot around here. So I asked that restaurant if they wanted Chronicle to come, and they said sure, they'd love to have me. It's free advertising. So they made a challenge, and they called it Jeff's challenge, and that's their challenge they did there, and that's the one we did that day.
That's cool that you have one named after you.
Yeah, it's the first time. Yeah,
and also the food looks really, really tasty, but also really hot.
That wasn't too bad actually. I didn't. It was the very first time I did it, it was even hotter. I didn't let it cool down at all. They used to have two other restaurant challenges at that restaurant, but they got too busy and it started to be a pain for them to do the challenges. So now they just have this one, which is a little bit easier for them to make, I think.
What were the other two?
One was a giant pancake challenge. It was the Lucky 7 pancake challenge, and it was rough. There wasn't too many people that finished it. They were really big, thick, fluffy pancakes. And the other one was called the Colossal Combo. It was just like a bunch of hash and different types of potatoes, and it was omelet, and there was some pancakes as well. That one was my favorite. That one was delicious.
Is it because there was like a variety?
Yeah, it takes up that takes up a lot of the grill space in order for them to do that, and it just got to be a hassle, I think, for them to do these challenges. And it's really supposed to be fun for the restaurant to do these things, and it shouldn't be a hassle. And I think they had some problems with some people that came in, and they said this is bigger than it's supposed to be and stuff like that. And I think they didn't want to have the hassle with it anymore, so they ended them.
I've heard challenges involving pancakes can actually be quite difficult.
Some people do have problems with them. Yeah, I think it's mostly flavor fatigue, though. People say that the pancakes swell up in your stomach, but I don't think that's true. I think they just get full and flavor fatigue.
And so moving over to the competitive eating side again, what year did you join Major League Eating, and what led you into taking that step?
I can't even really think of. I don't know. I guess about 7 years ago. I don't know the exact year I started. And again, it was just that the fact that I qualified to go to Nathan's, and I went, and I told them, like, I don't know if I can do a lot of traveling with school and stuff to go to all these other contests. And they're like, oh, that's no problem. You don't have to. You can go do as many contests as you like, or do as few as you like. So I just tried to get to the contests that were easy to get to. I tried to do those, and then it's tough because if you don't win money at the contest, then you're paying for travel and stuff like that, and it's a hobby. But once you start getting a little better and you start winning travel money and stuff like that, you tend to want to go to more and more contests. So it kind of snowballs as you get more and more involved.
And you're currently ranked number 3 in the world by Major League Eating, and you've set many world records like eating 281 Hooters chicken wings in 10 minutes and 23.75 pounds of strawberry shortcake in just 8 short minutes. So what kind of dedication does it take to set world records, and have you pushed yourself beyond what you thought was possible?
Well, I definitely haven't pushed myself beyond what's possible. I would break Joey's hot dog record if I would have done that. But you definitely have to do a lot of training. Like going into the bigger contests, I'll train. You got to do something every day to get yourself stretched out and loose, because you got to have room. And then on the other end, you got to work on your speed and your technique to eat the food. So it's really a lot of work to get to the level that I'm at. I don't recommend it, because it's the payoff's not as much as you think it would be. It's better off, I think, to keep it as like a hobby and just do it for fun.
And which has been the most difficult for you in competitive eating? Is it the mental side of it or the physical side of it?
The mental side of it, I don't think that never really bothers me. It's the physical side of it. Getting your body to cooperate or do what you want to do. You know, when you're at that minute 8 or minute 9 of the contest and you're just putting food in your mouth, but you're not really swallowing it. Um, you know, you're yelling at yourself. Why aren't you swallowing this? Swallow it. But you just find yourself not swallowing it, and it builds up in your mouth, and you kind of get frustrated, and you're trying harder and harder, and you know it's just working against you at that point. So that can get frustrating when your body doesn't want to cooperate. I think that's the hardest part. Mentally, I don't think training's never been a problem for me. When I was younger, I used to do a lot of powerlifting, weightlifting, and I think that was way harder than competitive eating ever will be.
How much do you still train with weight and stuff like that?
I still go to the gym quite a bit, 4 or 5 times a week, but I don't push it. Some days I just do it for fun now. I don't really try to get gains every single time. I'm getting older. I have had a lot of injuries and I don't want to get any more. So I just go and have fun. I just like it. And, I just like doing exercise in general. So, I'm just going to keep doing it, and it helps with the competitive eating. So it goes hand in hand.
How would you say your performances are when it comes to speed eating contests? Because I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong here, you had actually taken on a pizza slice challenge. I can't remember the restaurant off the top of my head, but I believe you tied with Joey Chestnut.
Oh man, that whole thing was kind of a fiasco. I don't know if that sponsor's ever going to come back, but I'm not really saying anything negative about him. But I contacted them and asked them. The deal was if you beat Joey's record, you get, I don't know, there was some money involved, some X amount. So I contacted them and I said, I can come in at this time. They said, sure. They contacted Joey so he would be there at the same time, which, they were a sponsor for the contest. So I didn't really want to make a fuss or complain or anything. So I said, okay, fine, whatever. We'll just do this. And then at the end of the contest, I had everything. If you watch the video, my video, I had everything in my mouth and I was done, but I didn't know you had to put your hands up. So I was done. And then I kind of saw Joey out of the corner of my eye, put his hands up. And so I put my hands up. So it kind of looks like I put my hands up after him. So I finished after him, but I didn't. And then if you zoom in on the video, you can see a little bit of pizza hanging out of his mouth as well. So I think I actually beat him in that contest. But again, the sponsor was a contest sponsor and I didn't want to make a fuss out of it. So I just let it go.
And then after that, did you feel like the contest went pretty well, though?
I think we weren't there for the pizza I think we were there for a different contest. It wasn't for the pizza slice contest, actually. I think it was for we did a rice contest actually down there, and that's what we were there for.
Oh, did both contests take place on the same day?
No. The pizza contest took place a previous time. We were down there for a different contest. They just advertised if you come and beat Joey's record, then you get the money. So I went down there, and they knew Joey was in the area, so they called him in as well. So all we did was that pizza slice restaurant challenge. We didn't have. They do have a giant pizza slice contest, but it wasn't that day.
And what restaurant was that at?
Fat Boy's restaurant, pizza restaurant.
And so moving to outside of YouTube, in a previous written interview with us, you mentioned that you like working on and driving your Jeep and also backpacking. What are some of your favorite locations to take your Jeep to and also through hike?
Oh man, it's got tough to find places to go wheeling around here. There's a couple of places I go that are privately owned that I go wheeling. There's a place in nearby town, a couple of nearby towns that I go to a couple times a year, but it's getting tough. What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to get a trailer so I can go up to more places like New Hampshire and stuff like that, because they just shut down so many places around here to go wheeling. And the Jeep's set up mostly for off-road, so you really wouldn't want to drive it to these places. It'd just be too much. So And then the hiking, I think my favorite hiking I've done was probably up in Maine. The 100 Mile Wilderness, that was amazing. A really, really fun trip. I had to break it up into two different trips because it's just, it's a remote area and it's tough to get supplies and stuff like that. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. That was a fun, really fun trip.
I bet it's easy to work up an appetite too, doing stuff like that.
Well, the problem with backpacking is you can only, you're carrying, I could carry maybe 3-4 days worth of food. But that's it. And then if you run out, you don't have any more. So you really can't pig out. You really gotta plan everything, plan all your meals and snacks and everything. So you have enough to get you through.
And what's one of your favorite guilty pleasures when it comes to food in your off time?
Oh man, I don't really cheat too much at all. Like on my diet, I try to keep it pretty strict, and I don't really have like any cheat days that I do. Um, oh man, I don't know if I don't really have anything like in the house that I cheat with. But if I was going to, like, if I want pizza is my go-to thing. That's my favorite.
And how do you balance being a high school teacher and competitive eating? And do your fellow teachers know that you can take down seemingly unlimited food?
I think everybody knows, like everybody in the school, I think knows about me. It doesn't really come up too much in school too often. And the contests and stuff are on the weekend, so I travel on the weekend, so I don't really miss a lot of school and stuff for the contests usually. So it doesn't really come up too often. And then the kids, they really don't really talk about it too often. Every now and then one of the kids will bring it up, but they're more, I think their most impressive thing that I tell them is I know Badlands Chugs, and they all know him, and they think that's like the coolest thing.
Yeah, that is really cool. Have you ever got to do a chug with Badlands?
I did. We did a chug after a contest in I think it was in Miami. We did a chug. I think we chugged Moxie.
Where do you see the competitive eating world in the next 5 years?
Oh, in the next 5 years, I don't know. Like just looking at the past couple of years, I haven't really seen it grow very much. In MLE side, I think the number of contests we have and like the number of new sponsors that we get per year, it seems to be pretty steady. I don't see it growing. Nathan's has been, well, last year Joey wasn't even there, but I don't see it getting bigger. It just seems to be about staying the same and in the size and the amount of crowd and stuff like that. So I don't know if it's going to get any bigger. And even looking on the independent side, I think probably the number of contests on the independent side is probably actually decreased. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't think it's going to go away, but I don't know if it's going to get any bigger.
And on the other side of it, what about the food challenge scene? Do you think that'll continue to grow or not grow so much, or?
I think that was steadily started to get smaller ever since the Man vs. Food TV show went off the air, like the original one. I think at that point it was like every restaurant wanted to have that at their restaurant, but I think when that went away, I think the number of restaurant challenges are slowly going down. I don't see, very rarely I see a new one.
So you've been professionally eating for many years now. Do you have any plans to retire?
That's a good. As soon as I start seeing a big dip in my performance, I think then I would probably consider retiring or definitely slowing down with it, because it's a lot of training, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and if you're not getting a good return, that's probably a good time to get out.
And let's say when it does come time for you to retire, like when you make that decision, are you happy with all your performances and all the stuff you've done, competitive eating and food challenges over the years?
Yeah, I think I pretty much I hit every single goal I set out to get. The only thing I really wish I would have did was last year I had the opportunity to win the mustard belt there, and I kind of let that slip through my fingers. I probably didn't train as hard as I should have and as diligently as I should have. It was just it was tough. It was not good training conditions here, and I just didn't really feel like training. And I had a lot of really bad practices leading up to the contest. And actually, I only had one good practice before Coney. I thought I was going to do really bad, but I hit that one good practice, and I knew I could do it again at Coney. And I pretty much did the same number I did in that practice at Coney, so I was happy with that. It just wasn't enough that day though to win.
And how hard is it to practice? Because I feel like you probably go through a lot of hot dogs, right? Like, does that cost a lot of money?
Very expensive. I mean, I can't. I used to be able to get the actual Nathan's hot dogs for a fairly decent price, but in the last couple of years, I haven't been able to get them. So there's another brand that I use, and I mean, if you're doing good, you can get 50 cents a hot dog, and even at that price, you're looking at, you know, you probably can't get quite that low, but you're looking at just 25, $30 in hot dogs. Then you got the buns on top of that. Plus you got your drinks and your cups and all that other stuff that you use. You're looking at over $40 per practice. And you're doing practices, more than once a week, twice a week, leading up in the contest. I mean, some people burn through 400 or 500 hot dogs leading up into Nathan's. So it gets expensive.
Yeah, it sounds like 400 to 500 would be a huge price tag.
Yeah, I know people that I've talked to different people, and they spend a lot of money on practice food for Nathan's. Other contests as well, but not nearly to the extent as Nathan's.
And I've also heard that some competitors can't get the contest style Nathan's hot dogs in their area, so they have to practice with, I think it's skinless, if I'm not mistaken.
Some people practice with skinless hot dogs. Some people practice with skinless hot dogs for a little while, and then they switch over to the natural casing, which are usually a little bit more expensive. Ideally, you'd want to get Nathan's hot dogs. I couldn't get any Nathan's hot dogs last year, so I practiced with the Sabret brand hot dog. That's all I was able to get, and that's probably the closest that I could find to Nathan's. They're not quite exactly the same, but they both taste pretty good, and they have the same pop with the natural casing, so it worked out.
So the contest hot dogs for the Coney Island contest for Nathan's, are those the natural casing ones that they use?
Yes, yeah, the natural casing. They're the same ones that you get, I believe, at the restaurants. I think it's the same ones you get in the supermarket too. I think they're all the same. I think they're the 47-gram all beef hot dogs. They actually taste pretty good. They're really good. Last year at Nathan's, they did a really good job preparing them. They were really good, tasty. They were fresh. The buns were fresh. They weren't really crunchy. So it was a good year last year. There was some previous years where the hot dogs and the buns were just, I mean, they were a mess because they were sitting out in the sun for 45 minutes before we got to them.
That's interesting. I've always wondered that about just really any eating contest. Like, is the food prepared instantly right before the contest, or is it sitting out for a while? Because I'm sure that like the texture and stuff, that has a lot to do with like how fast you can eat them and stuff like that.
It makes a huge difference at Nathan's, especially. Last year they did a really good job. They prepared all the hot dogs, plated them all up, and then they put plastic over them to really keeps the humidity in, because they dry out really quickly, the buns, in the sun, in the open air. There's a couple other contests. The one in particular that comes to mind where it was Spam. So basically they opened up cans of Spam and plopped them on plates and then set them out in the sun and and let them sit there for a while before we got to them. All the jelly, all that jelly on the Spam there, it can dry it up, and oh man, it was gross.
It doesn't sound too pleasant, yeah.
That was the worst food I think we've ever had at a contest.
How'd you feel after that contest? Did it mess with your stomach at all, or were you okay?
No, I felt terrible. Yeah, I did not feel good.
And let's talk 2025 goals. What is your goal for your YouTube channel in 2025, and even competitive eating, food challenges? Do you have anything exciting coming up that you want to tell the audience about?
I want to try to do some more. The videos that tend to get a lot more views and a lot more hits and stuff, like whatever they're called, are the fast food type videos or name brand foods that. So I'd like to try to do a little bit more of those if I can. Problem is the price of fast food's gone sky high. and I'd like to get videos out a little bit more consistent. I've been a little bit inconsistent lately. I just haven't had a lot of time. It's tough because you're practicing for contests, and then you can't eat big every day, so you can't film videos. So time gets a little tight in doing that. So hopefully I can start getting videos out a little bit more consistent. I'd like to try to get some more restaurant challenges, and if I can, try to look around to see if there's any more in the area that I haven't found yet. But other than that, for competitive eating side, it's tough. I'm kind of stuck in a hard spot there, being number 3. I mean, it'd be nice to go up to number 2, but the only way to do that is you'd have to beat Pat at Nathan's, because that's the only way they're gonna move you up, is if you beat him at Nathan's, which that's gonna be tough. That number 1 spot evidently doesn't seem like it's ever going to be open, because Joey was not at Nathan's and they still didn't take him off the number 1 spot. So I think that spot's impossible to get unless you defeat him at Nathan's, which again, that's almost impossible at this point. So I guess stay number 3 would be my goal for 2025, and try to win a couple more contests. Last year, I don't think I was too happy with the number of contests I won.
So will you be there at July 4th this year?
Yeah, that's the plan. I still got to qualify like everybody else, so hopefully I can find a decent qualifier. I've been pretty lucky with qualifiers. I never had to fly to a qualifier yet, so hopefully this year there's going to be one close enough to me where I could just drive again. But yeah, I still got to qualify just like everybody else.
And where are you based out of?
I live in Central Massachusetts.
And so what's the longest you've ever had to drive for a qualifier?
I drove to Syracuse.
Oh, and that's in New York, right?
Yeah, it's I think that's about, Buffalo is like 6 hours away, so Syracuse is pretty close to that, probably a little less, about 5.5.
And then before we wrap it up, is there anything you'd like to say to the audience or anyone listening?
Oh, I don't know, like about competitive eating. I don't know. Yeah, if you're an aspiring competitive eater, I would suggest not to do it, or at least try to do some restaurant challenges first, because it's not everybody I talk to, they all think it's, oh, you're so lucky you get to eat all your favorite foods, but it's rough once you get full and you still have to eat quite a bit more. It gets rough.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of, like we talked about earlier, mental aspects to it, physical aspects. Like it definitely does not sound easy. Like you just wake up one day, then you can eat, 40 hot dogs and buns in 10 minutes. There's a lot that goes into it.
You can always tell the person that, like, they say, I don't know, whatever, that like their favorite food was spaghetti or something. Oh man, if we were going to compete against spaghetti, I'd kill you. You would have to, like, no, you don't know what you're talking about.
And that concludes our interview with Geoff Esper, number 3 ranked competitive eater in the world by Major League Eating. Geoff, I want to thank you for coming on the podcast.
Appreciate you having me.
And we'll have all the links for Geoff's YouTube channel and all the links for all of his other social media platforms in the description. And thanks for listening, everyone. And we'll see you in the next episode.